What's up, everyone? I'm Marcus, and today we're digging into history's most terrifying medical devices, where doctors tried helping people but accidentally created pure nightmare fuel instead. Everything you're about to hear actually happened, not myths or movies. And real patients trusted these tools because medicine back then had very few better options. If hospitals already make you nervous, this video might permanently change how thankful you feel about modern doctors, clean rooms, and painkillers that actually work. We're starting disturbing and slowly sliding into full horror, so mentally prepare yourself. Because historical medicine had zero mercy and even less concern for comfort. Back then, survival mattered more than suffering. And pain was often considered part of the healing process instead of something doctors tried to avoid. Let's start with a device that surgeons once praised as innovative, even though it caused non-stop pain for days and sometimes ended with serious infections. In the 19th century, doctors wanted a way to remove unwanted growths without cutting patients open and risking massive bleeding during surgery. Their solution was a thin metal chain attached to a tightening handle. Simple in design, but absolutely brutal in execution. Doctors looped the chain tightly around the growth and slowly tightened it a little more every single day. This cut off blood flow until the tissue slowly died, turned black, and eventually fell off or was manually removed. Imagine tying string around your finger until it turns purple. Except it's metal, never loosened, and lasts for days. Without relief, patients walked around in constant pain while the chain pinched harder, reminding them every moment that the process wasn't finished yet. Doctors considered this progress because fewer patients bled to death, compared to immediate cutting, which tells you how low the bar really was. But leaving dead tissue attached for days created perfect conditions for dangerous infections. Especially in areas that were already difficult to keep clean, bacteria thrived during this waiting period. And many patients suffered fevers, swelling, and complications before the growth finally detached. And just to make this worse, the same method was sometimes used to remove tongues from living patients. Yes, tongues, meaning people stayed awake while a metal chain slowly destroyed part of their mouth over time. That image alone explains why early medical innovation still haunts history books today. Now let's move to dentistry, which somehow managed to be just as cruel as surgery in the early 1700s. A toothache didn't mean numbing shots or gentle modern tools. Dentists instead reached for a heavy metal instrument shaped like a key with a sharp hook. This tool was forced around the bad tooth while the dentist searched for the strongest leverage angle. Once positioned, the dentist twisted hard, applying raw force directly to the tooth and surrounding jaw. There was no anesthesia, no sedation, just screaming, cracking sounds, and unbearable pain filling the room. If everything went right, the tooth ripped free and the pain eventually faded. But often the tool snapped only the top of the tooth, leaving the infection deep inside. That meant swelling, more pain, and very limited options to fix the problem properly. Even worse, nearby teeth were sometimes damaged, forcing dentists to remove those as well. Some patients arrived with one bad tooth and left missing several by the end. Shockingly, this tool stayed in use for decades, proving suffering was once normal healthcare. Now let's talk about a treatment idea so insane it sounds completely made up. When tobacco reached Europe, doctors believed it was a miracle cure for almost everything. They smoked it, chewed it, rubbed it on skin. And then someone had a cursed thought. Doctors believed blowing tobacco smoke into the body could revive unconscious or unresponsive patients. That belief created the tobacco smoke enema, which was exactly as disturbing as it sounds. Early versions used a tube connecting the doctor's mouth directly to the patient's body. Doctors literally blew smoke inside patients, risking infections in the most disgusting way possible. If the patient coughed or pushed back, bacteria could travel straight into the doctor's lungs. Later, bellows replaced mouths, which somehow made this treatment seem more professional. This method stayed popular until doctors realized nicotine stressed the heart and harmed patients. By the 1800s, tobacco medicine finally disappeared, and honestly, that was a win for humanity. Take a breath, because part 2 gets bloodier, darker, and somehow even more unhinged if you thought smoke enemas were insane. Wait until you hear how doctors once believed draining blood was the key to fixing almost every illness imaginable. In medieval Europe, doctors followed a theory that health depended on balancing 4 body fluids called humors. If you had fever, swelling, or pain, doctors decided you had too much blood and needed it removed immediately. The earliest method was cutting veins with blades, which was messy, dangerous, and often fatal. Eventually, someone realized animals could do the job cleaner. And that's where leeches entered medical history. Leeches were collected, starved until hungry, then placed on patients to suck blood directly from their bodies. Doctors loved this method because it looked natural and caused less visible mess than open cutting. But leeches stopped once full, and doctors never agreed on how much blood was actually enough. So when leeches failed, someone invented a mechanical version that honestly looked even worse: the artificial leech was a metal cylinder with tiny blades and a suction pump attached. Doctors pressed it onto skin, rotated the blades, and created dozens of small cuts instantly. Then the pump vacuumed blood out like a machine designed to steal life itself. The advantage was control, because doctors could keep draining blood as long as they believed necessary. Unfortunately, that often meant until the patient collapsed from weakness or shock. Strangely enough, versions of this device are still used today in specific medical situations. Even crazier, real leeches are making a comeback in cosmetic surgery because they actually work better. History really said, let's go backwards and call it progress. Now brace yourself, because the next device targets a fear every guy watching just felt. Bladder stones are hard mineral chunks that form when urine doesn't fully empty from the bladder. Small stones hurt but pass naturally, while larger ones become absolute nightmares. In the 1800s, doctors treated large stones using a tool called a lithotrite. This long metal instrument was inserted through the urethra and carefully guided into the bladder. The doctor searched blindly for the stone like a claw machine game from hell. Once found, a crushing claw closed and smashed the stone into smaller pieces. The goal was to make fragments small enough to pass later naturally. And yes, this happened before proper anesthesia, meaning patients felt everything. People endured sweating, screaming, and praying to black out during the procedure. As horrifying as it sounds, this method was safer than open surgery at the time. Modern medicine now uses sound waves, so no one has to face this again. Now we reach the final entry, and it's easily the most terrifying one. Early amputations used rusty saws, cleavers, or chisels, often splintering bone and tissue. Infection, shock, and death were incredibly common outcomes. In 1830, Bernhard Heine introduced a new solution meant to make amputations cleaner. He created the chain osteotome, essentially a hand-powered miniature chainsaw for cutting bone. A sharp chain wrapped around bone and was cranked slowly by hand. The rotating chain cut smoother and cleaner than old saws ever could. From a medical perspective, this invention saved lives and improved surgery dramatically. From a human perspective, it was pure horror fuel. Imagine lying awake, hearing the grinding sound as a doctor cranks through your arm. No anesthesia, no escape, just pain, noise, and fear. I wouldn't need medicine at that point. I'd pass out from terror alone, and that's the truth. Modern medicine exists because people survived absolute nightmares. I'm Marcus, and if this made you appreciate today's doctors, mission accomplished. Like, subscribe, and share.